Should the Second Amendment be changed? I say absolutely fucking not. And whenever people want to go, oh, so you believe in this and this and that, shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay, first thing I want to get off my chest here. I had a conversation with somebody about loopholes, the gun show loophole and the internet loophole. First of all, the internet loophole doesn't exist. It doesn't. You can buy a gun online. It has to be shipped directly to an FFL dealer. In other words, that's the guy who has your firearms licensing. In other words, it still has to go to a gun store. It has to go to the gun store. You have to fill out paperwork. You have to pay that guy a little bit of money. Well, it all depends on who the guy is and what state you're in. Could cost $10, could cost $100. All depends on where you're at. Buy a gun online, has to go to one of those guys. You pick it up there. They still do your background checks and all that other happy shit that they do whenever you buy a gun from the store. And if the people on the other end of the phone line say no, which I believe is the ATF, then no, you don't get the gun. Only times there are exceptions to that is if the sheriff talks to some people and, you know, your parole officer and things of that nature talk to some other people. A long list of shit that happens, and usually that never goes by. I've only heard of it happening once. That's when somebody bought a lever action gun in .357 Magnum. Now, okay, the gun show loophole. Because of the bullshit that's been happening with the Second Amendment, a lot of these gun shows have decided, okay, if you're going to sell, you need to have a stack of the same papers that you have whenever you buy a gun from a gun store. I mean, most of them do this. Every gun show I've been to have done this. Bear in mind, I haven't gone to a gun show. I mean, I've started going to gun shows whenever, let me see here. About 2 years now. Ironically, every single time I've been to a gun show, I've never had any money to buy anything. But you always see every vendor there, it's a stack of paperwork where you fill out the paperwork. They take that gun, put it in a box, attach a little thing on it saying this is the whoever, whatnot, and they still call up all the other wonderful people, do the same background checks to say whether or not that gun's going to get sold to whoever. Exactly. They do all that shit. All of it. Now, straw sales do still happen. I just felt the need to put that shit out there. Right front and center. Now, when people compare us to countries like England, Germany, France, Japan, first thing they never understand is that the cultures are vastly different. Vastly different. Second of all, you can't compare us to any one of those nations. I mean, you can fit the entire Eurozone in America. The population is just a wee bit different. Of course, you're going to get a little bit more shootings than England. After all, we've got how many more people compared to England? We have how many millions of people in this country? We're going to have a couple psychopaths. May even be your neighbor. May even be you. May even be me. Oh, wow. That's going to lead to some very unruly comments. If you want to compare our shootings to another country, you got to compare us to either Russia, the entire Eurozone, all of Africa, all of South America, or it just doesn't fucking work. It doesn't. The population differences here. We have more cities than England. Think about that for a moment. How big is England? How big is the UK? The UK is, I think it's about the size of California, maybe a couple of states around it. Big, big, big difference. Now, here's another thing that happened. We had a couple guys who, through some weird-ass college program, from all over the Eurozone, through some university thing. Every year they pick out some random ass town here in the United States. They picked our town, my fucking town of all places. And what happened was, I talked to one of the Italian guys that came up there. We talked about guns, and I told him how his country, Italy, housed Beretta, the oldest gun manufacturer on the planet right now, and how Italy had a lot of history involved with firearms and things of that nature. And then I get these two British guys who are arrogant fucks, like my style of arrogance. Like, they're polite, but they're arrogant about everything they did. They told us about how they had shootings every day in their neighborhood because they lived in the British version of the hood. Shootings every fucking day. Now, granted, the gun deaths have gone down, but the gun violence has gone up. In other words, more people getting pistol whipped and shot at. And there's, according to one source that I read, more people getting shot but not killed. Now, you don't believe me about that? England has this, a website similar to where the FBI's database on gun crimes and things of that nature, where they actually have the names of all the guns used and all that other shit like that, just like here in America. Our FBI database. If you go to that site, I think it's like Scotland Yard or some shit like that. I can't remember the exact name of the site. That's where the facts lay. But no one wants to believe that. They just want to look at the gun deaths and call that the overall gun whatevers. I'm ruining my hair like Hitler in a fucking speech. La 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 la. Vermussen den Juden als Raten. Okay, that got me a dislike right there. Regardless of which, it doesn't work. Because the knowledge of firearms and things of that nature, you can't ban them. Mexico. If gun control worked, Mexico wouldn't have the problems it does. 30,000 people, but those guns were all from America. And you thought that stopped them? You thought that stopped the cartels from doing anything? No, not shit. Not shit at all. The Philippines, my mother's homeland. My mom tells me all the time that I need to look into my history and things of that nature. Out of curiosity, I looked at the firearms and their history. My mom was there present the day. She had met my dad at that point. Ferdinand Marco, I believe his name was. A dictator. Put the Philippines under martial law and declared that everyone was to turn in their guns within 2 weeks or they'd be shot dead. Now, why would a dictator need to do that? To this day, the Philippines still has some very strict gun control. I don't know the full gravity of it, but Vice did a documentary where they would take parts of old ships. They'd have a few parts that weren't exactly carved out the way that they did the rest of the parts, but a guy made an entire .45 automatic pistol. This fucking gun right here, the 1911 America's fucking gun, from parts of an old ship. And I looked at the damn thing. I took still photos. I mean, pressing the print screen button and looking that thing over. It was built just as well as any custom $9,000 1911 here in the United States. Sold for $500. Give that guy to America. Have him build me a couple 1911s. Shit. That's craftsmanship. Could live his life well with that kind of skill. Anyways, that being said. Fact of the matter is, you look at all these countries that ban guns, it just makes you victim to anyone who has them. And it wasn't, the Second Amendment was never meant for hunting and fishing like a lot of these liberal assholes will say. No, it wasn't. It's meant against all enemies, foreign and domestic. In Boston, before the Revolutionary War kicked off, when they realized the tensions were mounting between the crown and the people, the colonists. I believe it was Boston. I'm not sure which city, but they were handing out guns. If you didn't have one, okay, sign your name here. Here's a gun. Next year, they banned all imports. Next year, they tried to take the guns away. Next year, 1776, the war began. Essentially, the Second Amendment's about making sure that your duly elected officials do their job, or they fucking get shot. That's what it's meant for. That's what it was built for. That's what it was designed with the intent. So in other words, if George Washington knew that we were going to have fully automatic weapons in the future and things of that nature, and all the other founding fathers, well, this is an interesting weapon. They would allow you to have them. Because the point was to make sure that you were on equal basis, or as equal as possible, to the assholes in government who may try to take away your rights. That's what it's for. Not hunting and fishing. Because if you didn't hunt, you didn't fish, you didn't fucking eat. And if you are not willing to kill a fucking animal to survive, you deserve to fucking starve. And that goes for the criminals too. If you're not willing to take your life into your own hands, go on, call the cops. Average waiting period is about 23 minutes. Even more so if you live out in the country. If you cannot take your life into your own hands and you die, I don't feel the least bit fucking sorry for you. I feel sorry for all those kids who died at the hands of Adam Lanza. Why? Because they're put in a position where the teachers couldn't defend the kids anyways. They're put in one of those positions where they're not allowed to. The more you restrict the citizens' ability to defend themselves, the more you restrict, the more you give way to any psychopath wanting to victimize them. Mexico's a prime example. Sandy Hook, Newtown, these places. Yeah. I can blame the liberals all I want. I can blame the Republicans all I want. It's the assholes in government who want to restrict you from having the ability to defend yourself. So anyways, I'm done with this rant and ramble. I still want to know what you guys think. And if you're one of these fucking liberals who commented after watching 1 minute of this video, fuck you. You don't deserve any of your rights. You don't. Because if you're not willing to defend yourself or your rights with your life, you don't deserve shit. Anyways, that's all. Have a nice day.